Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and of course, I'm here with C Mustard Money Man himself. Obviously, shout out to Agent Smith, who asked a question before we went live, and it said, "Hey, C Money, any Grey Poupon?" And the answer would be, "Get the out of here. He doesn't have any Grey Poupon, but I wish he did because I love mustard. And Grey Poupon is actually quite tasty." Quite tasty, if I may do say so myself. Agent
Slander.
Smith.
This is set up. This is a setup.
Listen, we're going to have fun for the next 75 plus minutes, folks. We got three really monstrous stories. One super tiny. Of course, we're going to be talking about the new information. The reconfirmation from Jez Corden about the newly announced Capcom Fighter Collection 2 skipping Xbox. We're going to get into that. I'm actually in the process of writing a story on that, on its importance for Xbox, for Kay Asante's website, which of course is gamingcircle.com. And I'm just waiting for Jez to get back to me to kind of give me a quote that I could use as, a source material. But we will get into that. We're going to break down the Clair Obscur Expedition 33 trailer. We're going to watch it live. We're going to react to it. Holy, you know what? My God, does that game look absolutely berserk? I mean, look, I have a thought and a theory. I know people are going to be like, oh, let's not talk about that. We're going to talk about it, G damn it. But we're going to get to that in a second. And of course, see money another day. Another disastrous report for PlayStation, and more specifically, Bungie. I mean, we have criticized the gaming media for covering for Sony. We've seen that with Concord. We've seen it with Black Myth Wukong. But this is a particular story that is when we break down the details, crimes had occurred within Bungie. And as being ex-law enforcement, I just crushed my teeth on it because I can't believe that this kind of stuff is still happening. But more so than the reports and a high-level executive fired for what transpired, we also have the fact that, Tom Henderson is reporting that the shit show that is Marathon is worse than we thought. We got a quote from him. Folks, it is not looking good. And I got to tell you, if you look at games as a service for PlayStation, Helldivers on PC did bank numbers and it has fallen off dramatically. Concord is a just limping disaster. Jade Raymond's game, which we have not heard about for a while, seems like it's in a bit of limbo. And if that comes out like we saw, Fair Games is going to flop also. And now you hear Marathon not in a good shape. It was supposed to release this year. It was delayed till next year. Hell, it may even go out to 2026. At that point, what an embarrassment of investment for Sony. $3.6 billion. And look at the failings. Look at the train wreck that is Bungie as we speak. And that is due to poor leadership. We're going to get into all of that. But see, Money, how's everything, brother? How you feeling? Welcome.
Thanks, man. Everything's good, bro. Enjoying life. Kids just went back to school, so getting into the vibe of having to take my drop the big ones off and
little ones got to get back into the sleep schedule. Got to get back into doing the homework.
Yep. Yeah. So that's good though. It's summer is really fun, but it comes to every parent
structure
with kids in school.
Yeah,
kind of knows that like at a certain point it's like, okay, this was fun, time to get back to let's have them go back to school, let's go and have a regular life. So but aside from that, man, everything's really good. Gaming is freaking great. I've spent a lot of time playing Age of Mythology, Retold. We put out a review on it. Xbox sent us the code.
Nice, dude. I saw that. Yeah, congratulations on getting the code for that. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, so good. Such a good game. And that's not my type of game. Like, I don't typically play real-time strategy games, but I was hooked. I was hooked. Yeah, and even Doodle was, she played it too for the review. She has like 48 hours in that game, dude. Like
Whoa.
she put- she
Wow.
put the hell out of that game. And she doesn't normally like that game either. Like this is, it's crazy. Like Xbox, we love Xbox, right? So like when Xbox does something in these genres, and now that Game Pass is here, it kind of allows us to experience some of these different genres of games that we never really mess with. And it's like a gateway drug because like Gears Tactics, I don't ever play those type of games, but it came out and I played it, loved it. Right, Halo Wars 2, I don't typically play those type of games, loved it. And this one just nails it, man. It does a great job. So just been playing a lot actually. Started playing Star Wars
Yeah,
Outlaw.
something up with Ubisoft Plus. I pay for the service. I
Yeah.
still can't download the game. Like it's still
Really?
coming up for 129 bucks. I reset the console and everything. I think there's because I even saw Pong Soul talking about it. Normally, like when you get like the 3-day early access because you're subscribed to the service, I haven't been able to
Yeah.
download it. It still says 129 bucks. I don't know if
So
maybe that changes tomorrow, but I think
maybe it's delayed. I don't know. It's weird. I haven't. I mean, to be fair, I haven't. I know. Like Canuck's been playing it on his Xbox, um, through the Ubisoft Plus. So maybe it's just like a glitch. Maybe something else going on. I don't know.
I mean, I checked. I
I
even went in and checked my service, make sure that it's paid for, and I have it on a car. I have it on a particular card that has no balance. It's only for like subscription services, so I don't ever have to
yep,
worry about it.
yep.
And sure enough, it says they just charged the card on the 25th, and the next charge isn't until my birthday, in September. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
because
What?
6
Why can't I
months.
download this game? This is bugged out. But
Yeah,
listen, I'm
that's
playing other
wild.
things. It's fine.
It's good. I know it's getting a lot of hate, or there's some people who are giving it a lot of hate, but I've been enjoying it. I'm playing it um through the PC, right, on
Oh,
Ubisoft
okay.
Plus directly. Just because it has like a lot of like ray tracing and stuff. I wanted to see it at like its peak before playing it, normal. And it doesn't matter, with Ubisoft Plus, it's all the saves transfer, so I don't lose anything, going from one place to the other. But this is great time to be a gamer, man. There's a lot of
Indeed,
great
it
stuff
is.
out there. We eating good over here. It's a beautiful world. Beautiful world. We're loving it.
So, see, I want to immediately jump into a topic that's super sore for a lot of people. Now, why do I care? Why do I care about games that are over a decade old? Well, one, I bought those games and played those games when they released. So from inception, I have been fans. I've been a fan, and there are plenty of fans out there who appreciate this old school Capcom slash SNK type of releases. Uh, Particularly, why this stings even more is because if you are a Dreamcast guy or gal, not the a-hole, I'm talking about an actual Dreamcast player. If you are a player that played games from back in the days, well, obviously, you know, Power Stone should, at least for me, explodes off the screen. Power Stone 1 and 2 are Capcom yesteryear classics that not only deserve to be played today, and thanks to this collection, it will be, but I am in the camp that that game or those games either need to be remade from the ground up for modern consoles and graphics and visuals and sound, or just make a sequel. The game was way ahead of its time. And of course, in this collection, which is called the Capcom Fighting Collection 2, well, it's in that collection along with a bunch of other things. Now, Capcom Fighting Collection 1 currently available on your Xbox. I have it download. I own it for the Switch and I own it for the Xbox. With all of that said, why am I revisiting this conversation? Because it's a conversation worth revisiting. Again, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the show, that's about it. but I got to get my piece out there. And you know what? Shout out to Clobriel, who continues to drive the point home. When this was announced via the Nintendo Indies or Nindies, I should say, Direct, they showed this. Now, obviously, it's not an indie, but it's still a title that they showed during their stream. And of course, Clobriel, being the Xbox gamer that he is, he goes on to tweet Capcom Fighting Game Collection 2 coming exclusively, not to Xbox. And of course, I give him flowers for getting out there and giving Xbox to smoke. Because again, we're in 2024. There is absolutely no reason other than I don't give an F or I just missed the boat entirely why a game like this, that's basically a bunch of ROMs on a disc, can't come to an Xbox. Well, obviously, Jez Corden simply responded and reconfirmed what he said a couple of weeks ago. And he simply says they're working on it with a salute. Now, I'm going to say this, C-Money. Maybe this isn't the biggest story of the week. I understand. Maybe somebody in the chat right now was like, yeah, who cares about old games? I understand that as well. But I care. And I think that there is a conversation to be had that if you keep allowing games to skip the platform without any pushback, it's then deemed acceptable behavior. And I think that that is where we should draw the line. And thankfully, someone like Jez Corden, who does have an inside track, whether you love him like I do, or you hate him, and that's up to you, he does speak the truth. And if he's getting out here and putting his quotes out there for people to read, that means that there is something to it. So when Jez says simply they're working on it, that gives me hope that maybe it doesn't release this year. Because again, this particular collection isn't coming to next year. That's fine. But I believe Marvel vs. Capcom at some point is coming out this year. That's going to obviously be delayed until potentially next year. C-Money, the reconfirmation from Jez Corden should give players like me a tremendous amount of hopium, if you will. Do you think this is a fight worth having? Pun totally intended.
So this, I mean, so I kind of, I've said this before for my end when it comes to this particular topic, right? Like for the people who want this game, or are interested in this game, absolutely, you want to have it here. So not having it sucks, right? So I get it. I will kind of stay in the same lane though. The idea that Xbox is responsible for every developer to do what's best for their consumers. Like understand, like this game is a Capcom game, and I can't see it any other way than knowing that Capcom doesn't want to spend the extra money that's required to make it work on the Xbox, whatever they have to do, whether they have to update their framework or whatever it is that they have to do to make it happen. It's on Capcom to do it. I look at it as the opposite way. I think constantly going at Xbox over things that they cannot control, which is a third party deciding that they don't want to spend the money required. I think that's setting a bad precedent that somehow Xbox needs to foot the bill every time like you're setting Xbox up for extortion on a constant basis. It's like, well, it's going to require me a little work. So either you're going to pay us to do it or we're going to skip you. And it's like, how about we bitch at Capcom? And how about we make a big stink to Capcom saying, how dare you skip us? Like on our, on our channel, Black Myth Wukong skipping Xbox because of their bullshit reason is enough for us to say, well, I don't want to play your game. Right.
Well, that's why I didn't buy it.
Xbox,
I won't buy it for PlayStation 5 because I don't like the controller. Plus, it's a wreck there. And I don't play on PC. Yeah. And like I said before, I will never play on PC. It's just not my bag.
Yeah. But like I'm not gonna say Xbox, how dare you? How dare you, Xbox, not get Black Myth Wukong? It's no, fuck you, Black Myth. Oh shit, my bad.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Like no, it's like screw you, Black Myth. You are saying that we're not valuable to you. more, or we're less valuable to you than PlayStation is, which clearly we see the port that you put to PlayStation, and you didn't really do a good job there. And the fact that they want to blame the Series S, well, Digital Foundry came out and kind of already debunked that idea. So the point is that the way I look at this and the way I go at this is, hey, game science, screw you for what you did. What this should be is another game Capcom is choosing to not release on Xbox, and showing Capcom's Xbox fan base that they are not as important as the PlayStation fan base. Put that message out there. Have Clobro say that instead of saying another game exclusively not on Xbox, in a way where it doesn't sound like he's going at Capcom for making that choice. He's instead going at Xbox for somehow not paying somebody to put a game on their console. What type of crazy shit is that? Unless it's going into Game Pass, why do they have to pay somebody to put a game on their console? It makes no sense. And the fact that we keep kind of propagating this idea instead of saying, yo, Capcom, what is up, dude? I'm a valuable customer. Hey, Capcom, I bought your game mad long ago, right? Why aren't you releasing it on my console of choice when you release it on my old console? Let's change the narrative, guys. Let's move on from being Xbox. We know it's not Xbox. Games come out on Xbox every day. The fact that it's being a choice, you know what nobody's talking about? Because nobody will. Tales of Azure, right? You know why nobody talks about it? Because nobody gives a shit about that game, right? Because it's a JRPG, right? But it's the first time ever it's coming to Xbox. Nobody's saying anything about it. It's a game that always skipped Xbox in the past for 24 years, or however long that game's been out. It's never been on an Xbox. It's coming to an Xbox. No words. Nobody's saying, wow, look at the work Xbox doing on getting these Japanese games over here. Right? Where are those flowers, right? Where are the people saying, yo, good on them for doing it? They don't, right? They don't. They just go ahead and they say, look, another game skipping.
You're talking about
Xbox.
Visions of Mana, what you're talking about.
No. Visions of Mana is coming, but there's another game. It's called wait. Oh, I'm sorry.
Trials of Mana?
No. Atier Yumiya. I don't know. I got the name completely messed up.
That's right.
It's a Koei Tecmo game. Atier Yumiya, The Alchemist of Memories and the Envision Land is coming early 2025 on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Steam. And for the first time in the history of the franchise, Xbox One and Xbox Series S, Series X and S, right? This is a game that's never come to Xbox, but silence, right? Silence, because it's a niche type of game, and it's not in anybody that cares. Anybody with a platform, nobody cares about this game, so it's not being out, spoken about, right? Where this game, obviously, people with platforms are interested in this game. They love the game. They have nostalgia for it, so they're talking about it. But it's like that's what gets propagated out there, right? And when we frame it as a, Xbox did bad, if Xbox does something with their games, that's different. Xbox has a platform that games can be made for. If a company chooses to say, you Xbox gamers are not my priority, I do not see why we need to get on Xbox's case. Right now, again, JRPGs, it was something they were sorely lacking. So they worked really hard. We know they worked really hard, and they changed the narratives. So most of the major JRPGs now come. We just saw Final Fantasy, right? Yoshi P's out there like PlayStation being exclusive to them screwed us.
Yeah.
We're done with that. We're bringing the games, right? So like Xbox is grabbing everything. But like when we find this little niche of a scenario, again, I have no problem with being like, yo, I want this game. This game should be coming to Xbox. It's let's point our gun right away from Xbox, right? They're like, yo, I don't know. They're not bringing the game here. What do you want me to do? You want me to go shoot them? You know what I'm saying? No, let's aim on the people who are doing this to us. It's not Xbox ain't doing shit to us. It's Capcom who says for this game, you guys are not going to buy enough, or you're not going to spend enough to make it worth us spending our dollars to bring this game to you. Go out there, Bring Capcom the smoke. Let them see that Xbox players care enough to come at them. They Xbox gets bitched at for everything at every given moment in time. Capcom's not going to look at that as something special. They're going to look at it as like, oh, another thing that they care about. Whatever. Who cares? They're still not going to buy the game, right? Like nobody's adding them. Nobody's making Capcom look bad for not bringing the game over here. That's what's going to hurt Capcom. If they have a bunch of Capcoms that everybody in Twitter is going to see, and everybody at Twitter is going to be like, yo, what's going on with Capcom? Why aren't they doing this shit? Right. And then all the casuals are going to be like, what's going on? Why isn't the game? Yeah, why isn't the game coming over here? What you understand? That's where we start making
very fair point, dude.
That's where we start making an impact. You can't keep going at Xbox. They're gonna get extorted every time some of these stupid little games. And I'm not saying this game is stupid, but these little niche games come out and are skipping Xbox because of their choice, not Xbox's choice. Xbox didn't say you can't put your game here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's only one group of people who are responsible, and that's the developers. And if we keep going against Xbox when we clearly know there's capability in doing this, like you're wasting their time. Like they're wasting time. They're wasting time dealing with this Capcom scenario on these old ass games. So they're gonna have to pay Capcom to do whatever's required to go ahead and put this in, man. There's nothing wrong with being upset that a game is skipping Xbox. Actually, like you said, the smoke should be given. There should be people losing their shit that a game is arbitrarily skipping Xbox, but it's not Xbox's fault. And we should stop this thing where we're pushing Xbox to bow down to every developer in the world and be like, oh, whatever you need. Like they're already doing that, right? They're already help the developers as much as possible, right? Like, why is it only after that this is happening? I almost feel like it's on purpose. Like Capcom like announces, hey, another game not coming to Xbox. Like, and then if they're working on it, right? Like Jess says they're working on it. Why wasn't this being worked on in silence before the game's announcement? This game's coming out in 2025. If you know this shit is being worked on with Xbox, why are you announcing it? Right? It's clear. If Jez says, right, we believe Jez.
Right.
If Jez says that Xbox is working on getting this fixed, what other purpose could there be for Capcom to announce a game that's coming next year when they know that Xbox is working on this, except to just make it where Xbox is in a bad position and they can get more leverage over Xbox to make them pay to put the extra work done to put this game out?
Well, I do have a small pushback. First of all, your points are incredible. Now, you asked, why did they show this? My only caveat, and again, it's a complete theory, right? It's not even a pushback. It's basically a theory, a counter, if you will. These directs are usually done well in advance, right? They do because these are pre-recorded. I don't know, because remember, there wasn't any talk between Capcom and Xbox until people like myself and others came out and be like, hey, we're fans. Hello, I take my money, please. I'll buy it on. I'm buying it on the Switch for sure. I'll buy it on the Xbox. You're getting it too from me. And that was the last direct that they have. Now, I'm not making excuses for Capcom or Nintendo for that matter. You simply ask, why did they show it? My only slight caveat would be, I don't necessarily think it's on purpose to kind of back Microsoft into the corner, as much as these were already done, and obviously they were done before the talks opened up. That would be my only thought in theory. Now, could I be wrong? Sure. Could they be Capcom actually trying to push Xbox into a corner? If they didn't have a good working relationship, I'd say 1,000%. But they just released one of their new IPs on Game Pass day and date.
Yep. That's
so they do have a fantastic
in isolation. Honestly, I think the simple thing came down to, before all the negative backlash to Xbox, they were more than likely saying, yeah, we're not going to pay you guys to put this game on our console.
Yeah, absolutely.
Either figure it out or we're not going to pay.
We're not going to
pay. It
is
what it is. And then everybody started coming at Xbox, and now it's like, all right, well, now we look bad, so let's go ahead and pay, because that's the only reason this game is not there, is because it requires more work.
It requires some additional back end. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just more money that has to get spent, and they don't want to spend it. And it's just, I don't know. I just think the narrative of everything falling on Xbox needs to we got to figure it out, because it's Capcom is the person. And I don't see people adding Capcom about this. It's always at Xbox. It is not the platformer's job to make sure that they pay every company to put a game on their service. They have the platform. They give everybody the same ability to make money. They provide everything you need. This is an old ass game that's on a framework that Xbox doesn't support anymore. So like what do you want them to do? How many games are going to come out, and how much money is going to be, made on games like this for Xbox to start making all these investments on framework games? Like, I don't know.
I mean, listen, phenomenal points across the board. I think that too much. No, I think you're onto something. I think that there is a lot of finger pointing for Xbox, and listen, I give them the smoke. I do, because the investment for the framework isn't going to be that much money. But you're right. Should they be held hostage to have to pay? The answer is no. It should be a mutual thing, for sure. Yeah. Hey, we got customers. They may not be as many customers, because again, what we have to look at once this releases is actually how many PlayStation gamers bought this. Because here's a factoid that a lot of people don't know. You can't buy this game digitally on the PS4 or the PS5. You have to buy it physically. FYI, go look it up. So people are going to have to physically buy this game. I want to see the numbers, because if the numbers are terrible, I guarantee you people that they'll be equally as bad on Xbox, but at least that would double up the amount of people that bought the game. I'm buying it on Switch.
Who benefits that? Capcom. And who's choosing not to put the game onto Xbox players? Capcom. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy to me. Like, they're the only ones that are going to get upside to this, because that game cost them nothing. They're taking an old game, slapping it on a new console.
They're literally just copying and pasting ROMs and adding the framework for multiplayer. That's about it. Yeah,
they're doing nothing. We cannot. It's not Xbox's job to beg these people, bro. Back when they were small, they did it. They begged, they pleaded, they made crazy deals to get these people to come. They're a major player now. There's 35 million people on a series consoles, and there's 40, 60, I don't know, like crazy, like way more people on the Xbox One generation. There's plenty of reason for Capcom to go and spend the money, but they won't, because they know they can put it on them as leverage. They don't want to spend the money. Xbox said, no, I don't want to spend the money. And now they come out and they do this. It's not their job, bro. It's not.
I hear you. No, I hear you. And you know what? Great points across the board. Again, it wasn't supposed to go for like 20 minutes or so, but C Money knocked it out of the park. So here we are. But listen, what I want to do, see, is we got to talk about and watch as a bunch of gamers the Clair Obscur Expedition 33 trailer, because damn, I mean, wow. Now, again, the trailer is up. I'm going to go and I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to go and do a screen share. Give me a second to set that up, ladies and gentlemen. And here we go. Let me set that up. Let me get into it. Let me do a full screen so we can watch this. And there we go. This is gameplay, ladies and gentlemen. Full-on gameplay.
'68. Elodie's expedition.
You know the commanders of every expedition.
Expedition 68. Their boat was blown into the air by a storm. Lumiere lost sight of it, but assumed they crashed on the continent.
And they survived. The storm, at least.
All right, let's keep moving. We found the weird corals. Mael must be close by.
Wait. Everyone. Looks like a different species.
Doesn't matter. They're between us and Mael.
Dude, this looks so freaking good. It's ridiculous.
So good.
Game Pass day and day too.
That's just wild, bro. That's wild. Yeah, I said it on the tweet, but I'll take my day and date Game Pass with these type of bangers going in there day and date over any third party money had it, wannabe exclusive game.
Over there. A hut.
That's just gonna beg
Slow
us
down.
later to buy them.
We don't know what's inside
Crazy.
yet.
This looks so good, dude.
You know what's interesting, and folks, we're going to get into this a little further, right after we watch the trailer, and we're going to react live on the air. But I got to say, sometimes, C-Money, and please push back if you think I'm going crazy here. A game will come out, and you'll see it, and it's
building has
just stunning from start to finish.
melancholy beauty.
Right? You look at it and you're like,
a lone outpost.
oh my
of
God, where did
humanity
this come
nestled
from?
amongst the corals.
How many people are on
A
this
sailor
team?
lost
Look,
at sea.
I know that people will hate that
Resident
I'm
Sin.
saying this. Some people will, some people
Wouldn't
won't.
expect a Cartesian
When
engine
you
here
see
to
something
understand
like this
beauty.
that just screams special, I mean, it's screaming at you how special this is. I almost say you got to lock this up as an exclusive. And if you don't want to do that, and that's at the least, I say, holy crap! Look at this team. We have a potential franchise that's going to push back against others that are in the market. Like, well, Final Fantasy, you buy this studio, you work with them. I say the same thing about the Stalker 2 developers. Like, Microsoft should just acquire them. They are a group of special, talented developers. And the world is getting more expensive. And look, the reason why they put Ninja Theory and Obsidian were because those studios potentially on the cusp of closing.
It only attached.
If who knows if they're not purchased and get bankrolled to do what they're doing, are they still making games in 2024? I don't know.
I mean, it's true. I definitely see that, man. Like, especially with Stalker 2, I feel like they, at this point, the relationship that they have, it's almost like just do it. That team needs some security in their life. They're obviously talented. This just looks really good. Like, I agree. You see some of these things that, like they're small teams. Like, how is this a game that immediately looks way more interesting to me than Final Fantasy ever did? You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks way more interesting. And these small teams out here just working really hard to make a name for themselves. And because now the engines are out there, that can actually go ahead and allow them to make beautiful looking games, a little easier with smaller teams because of what these engines are capable of doing now. These bigger teams got to step up, man.
It seems peaceful.
They have
as
to.
long as we
Like,
don't
this is
touch
crazy.
the flowers.
This is so good, man.
Yeah, let's not get too sentimental. It's still
So
a
good.
painter's creation.
Real quick, got to shout out Chief Naggles 8. Now this is a great message in the chat. He says, you got to get out of the exclusive mindset. We aren't even going to keep our own games exclusive. You know what? He's not wrong. And I think that's the old man in me. I'm still listen, I don't care what people say. I think exclusives matter. Maybe I have become
It
the
felt
minority in that
familiar
theory and
somehow.
thought.
Gustav,
It's fine.
we won't understand what's going
I
on
accept
if we
my
kill
faults.
everything that moves.
I think a game like
The
this,
Gestural Village must be ahead.
being in Game Pass, is going to sell the
You
Game
know
Pass.
what never
That
will.
ultimately is the
She'll be
exclusive.
fine.
But you're right.
I mean, that's really
I
like
gotta
the
get
new
out of
exclusive now, right?
yeah.
I mean,
She'll
it's
be
just
fine.
kind of is what it is. Kind of get an understanding of what
Yeah.
is going on. Like if they bought this team, it'd be great because I feel like a team like this, would benefit from having a big company behind them. But at the same time, this game looks amazing. So who knows if this is their Black Myth Wukong that sells 10 million copies. I mean, you never know, right? You just never know. But look, at the end of the day, I think exclusives still matter today, in some way, shape, or form. Like it just kind of is what it is. But it's not the focus anymore, right?
Yeah,
Like
again,
it's
it's
what
my
it
old
is.
manisms that I have to look past. Like I said, I get it. I've said it before. Look, I'd run the business totally different. But I'm not running the show. And again, someone says something like Chief Nagel, and he's not being disrespectful. He's being completely honest.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Chief, so much for dropping that message in here because you're 100% right. I need to get out of the mindset that exclusives matter. That matters to me, sure, but it doesn't matter to Microsoft. And it's a perfect example of, well, look what's happening in front of us. But look, at the end of the day, I'll never bend the knee to it. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, that's because we're from that time, right? Like we're used to it,
from
right?
an
Like
old
this
school. Yeah.
that's what we knew as the normal, right? Like it's like you have exclusives, right? But like
Yep.
it's funny because obviously I was the same exact mentality, right? I've always thought the same thing. But I don't know if you have thought about it or felt it at all, but I got to tell you, for me, especially with these type of games, like the Game Pass, type games that are coming, like the Expedition 33, things like that. Not so much like Xbox Game Studio stuff. Like that for me is like this almost like a different situation. But like all these games that you would consider like, hey, let's buy them and make them exclusive. There's something I feel like there's something a little sweeter for me to know that I get these games for free and they gotta pay for the game. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No,
like this,
you're
it's
not
a
wrong.
little. It tastes a little sweeter for me when I know, especially like with these bigger games, like a Doom that like so many people are gonna buy over there. It's like yes, you know what? The fact that you are buying it is just feeding our beast, right? It's feeding our Game Pass because
Yeah.
the more they spend, the more we get. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I think, if you start seeing, the the much more harmful to PlayStation scenario that this is, because PlayStation is essentially now funding Xbox's entire like everything they're putting in Game Pass.
Yeah.
All these day one drops are all coming from Sony funding at this point, between Call of Duty, Minecraft, and anything else that is have been going over there. It's just more Sea of Thieves, all this shit, man. It's just bankrolling us, and we just get more and more in Game Pass. And
It's a
frankly,
half
that's where
glass
I'm at the end of the day.
mentality rather than a half empty glass, and I love that. I got to tell you, I got to give you props for that because that's look again when I am not fluffing the truth. A lot of people are in their feelings because of the multi-plat kind of a situation that Microsoft finds themselves going towards. But C Money has once again completely knocked it out of the park because think about this, and again, this is not me fluffing the truth or trying to copium it. It is the reality. Games of every ilk, quadruple A to one-man games like this in front of you, Vampire Survivors, found their way to Game Pass. You pay for your service, and it's gone up a couple of times. In September, it's going up to $20. I haven't paid full boat for it in years because I go and I'm a smart shopper and I find the 3-month cards, and that's exactly how I do it, right? But with all of that said, there is some caveat to potentially these games going over to other platforms because C Money has said it. Every time a PlayStation gamer or a Nintendo Switch 2 gamer buys one copy of said game that is available on our service, what they are ultimately doing is funding that studio's next game. They are subsidizing the games that go into Xbox Game Pass. They are literally subsidizing the development work on the next hardware because they are making bank from these other players. And I said this before, and I'll say it live on the air again. I hope Doom, The Dark Ages, sells 5 times more on PlayStation, because that means that the next machine made game, I mean, not machine games, the next id developed game is literally being paid for by these players. Every time they spend 43, Xbox gets a pair of wings. It's and you're right, it's a wonderful thing.
And they flock to our games, bro. Because I mean, listen, frankly, we know they don't have any games that are worth anything to them, right? They're barely getting any first party.
They don't have
output.
a roadmap. They don't have anything.
They completely flip flop on their own narrative. Before, when Xbox had 5 studios and relied mostly on third party deals and things like that, we were clowns. We weren't having anything, right? Xbox is worthless. Now PlayStation is relying solely on third party money hatted deals that they're doing, and all of a sudden they're in good shape. Don't worry, we have access to these games. Do you have access to these games? No, we have. Yeah, but did you pay for that game, or did Sony give it to you? All you had to pay for it, right? So nothing changed in your life, right? Whether the game had access or not anywhere, you still got to pony up and pay the money to play the game, right? You had to buy it for $70. So the scenario is not like when we talk about games that we have and they're coming over here for free, like that's the W. I don't know how people see it in life, but success to be, when you could quantify it, is typically have to do with the wallet, right? Like how much you get to keep and how much you make, right? And these companies, that's how they do it, right? It's who win. Like that's why Microsoft, that's so funny, these ponies have these narratives in their head. Microsoft is winning 100%. Microsoft is number one. We've already seen it. They profit more than Nintendo and PlayStation. At the end of the day, doesn't matter what you spend. Doesn't matter. I mean, I'm sorry, how much you make gross. Go tell that to your mortgage company, where if you have a $2,400 mortgage and you gross $2,400 a month, but your net is $1,800 a month, and you go to pay the bill with your gross check, like your gross, like you pay with your net bill, your net check, and then add like, hey, but I grossed $2,400. So does that cover it? No, it doesn't cover it. You need the net. The net is what you have that helps you, that makes you show that you have that money available, right? Microsoft nets more than both of those companies. It's just what happens on, Xbox does specifically.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But again, I just want to circle the wagons back to, of course, Expedition 33. This is a game that is going to do a couple of things. One, it is currently in Xbox Game Pass day and date. I don't think this has been announced for anything other than PC and Xbox. I don't think there's a PS5 version even in the works. They're a small team, very, very similar to the Stalker 2 devs. So right now, this is an exclusive for Xbox, and it's a big one. Now, granted, maybe turn-based JRPGs aren't your bag, and if they're not, well, then this game may not be for you. They're my bag. I look at this, and I immediately equate it to, and again, this is just my personal opinion. Remember the game Lost Odyssey? That was a banger of an RPG, which I hope actually gets a remake or a sequel at some point. I don't think it ever will, but you know what? That's a game that was amazing. Every time I see this, I get those Lost Odyssey vibes, and Lost Odyssey was dope. Now, this over here is an action RPG.
Just real quick, it is coming to PlayStation 5.
Oh, it is. Okay, all right. So there you go. I
Yeah.
did not know that. All right.
Yeah. If you look on their Twitter page, it says coming to Xbox, PlayStation,
thank you for the
and
clarification,
PC
folks.
in
There it
2025.
is. When I get it wrong, I gotta come face forward and take the shot. So thank you for the clarification. I did not know it was coming to PS5. And again, we just rolled it back to a person on PS5 is going to have to buy the game, which is fine. And you want to see this team succeed. So by all means, PlayStation gamers, buy the game. Help this very small studio sell 10 million copies of this, which would be great. But I'm happy to know that a game of this ilk is going to be an Xbox Game Pass day and date. Game looks phenomenal. The trailer, which was 6 minutes and 39 seconds long, if that didn't sell you, I don't know what else will. I was sold from the showcase, but then of course when I saw that's the third time I've watched that trailer. That trailer is phenomenal. Shows everything you need to know. The voice acting is spot on. The graphics are next generation, what you would expect. The combat looks cool as F, and the creature design, well, it looks really good. Looks like super interesting creatures. So I'm all in.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks great. Love the story. Love that moment when she goes to get closer to the monster and it goes away. Like they stop the guy from killing the monster.
Right. Yeah, that's dope.
And then the lady's like, if we kill everything, we're never gonna learn. It just shows like I like where they're going with the story. They're trying to make it a little different.
Empathy. Right.
Yeah, it's really dope. I like it. It's gonna be a big deal.
We have a big one to get into. This is probably going to close out the show. Obviously, normally this is a smaller show, but there's a lot of news to get into. But before we get over to that, I got to obviously reach out and say thank you to all the super chats and channel member chats that have come in. We have here I Love Coffee drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Forza PlayStation soon. I mean, that's the rumor. We'll see. Look, if PlayStation 5 gets Forza Horizon 5, it's going to be the best thing that could happen because that game is leaps and bounds better than what they have as their own first-party racer. Again,
they'll just be screwing themselves.
I mean, it's. I put it to this way: it's going to be hard for Sony first-party or Polyphony to go out and make the next Gran Turismo when you have a Playground Games racer that is not only it's going to be 3 years old. I think it's 3 years old this November. And if it releases next year, the game will be almost 4 years old. You'll be getting on the PS5 platform a 4-year-old racer that is actually better than anything first party that you have for the racing genre, and could potentially be better than Gran Turismo 8. That's saying something. And
it is. It is.
Know,
I mean, I don't listen. Again, like you, Boom, man. Like I'm not advocating for any of this stuff, right? I'm not looking for this stuff to happen, but I'm not a doom and gloomer, dude. I'm not gonna sit here and cry over nonsense, right? At the end of the day, Microsoft is going to do what they have to do, right? And honestly, you got to kind of see what's going on. Like, these money-headed games that PlayStation has done, they're not selling. You know what I'm saying? They're not selling, right? All of them have moved away from PlayStation. All the bigger people have moved away from PlayStation. They're all disappointed in going and saying we'll put our game on a console that has a 61 million consoles shipped, and we're gonna see big bank, and they don't see big bank.
They see a million sold, 2 million sold.
That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and they're done with it. That's why PlayStation is focusing now on these little people and hoping to get them, and even them. If it wasn't for PC, Game Science would have had a flop on their hands in regards to PlayStation. We've already seen the rough breakdowns of it. There's if they're lucky, they have 700,000 copies sold on PlayStation. Can you imagine having skipped PC where they sold 12, 10 to 12 million copies already? Like it's insane, right? But like you want like we're supposed to be gamers who want these games to be made. The fact of the matter is that financially, a lot of these companies that are coming out here, they're putting everything they can into their game, right? Like this Clair, like the Expedition 33. I don't know that studio. I don't know if what games they made before. But they're not a known big studio, right? And like they're giving everything they can because they know the reality is that there's a very good chance that they only have one shot of doing what they can to make a game that pops. Because if they don't have a game that pops, they're more than likely not going to be able to make another game of that caliber, right? Because remember, quality doesn't dictate success. Okay, there could be a great game, great looking game, doesn't mean it's going to sell, right? It just is what it is, right? So, the industry that we're in now, these smaller companies or even the bigger companies, that's why they don't want to take risks, right? It's very difficult for them to make enough money on these games. So, honestly, responsible like for like the responsible thing for these companies to do is release these games in as many places as they possibly can so they can take the biggest swing and hopefully make as much money as possible. And I'm I'm all for Xbox's vision of how they're going to handle things because at the end of the day, they're not taking away from us, right? They're saying, listen, if one of our games goes over there, don't worry, dog. We're giving it to you for free. You know what I'm saying? Like at least we got you. You pay for your subscription. Here's the game.
Day and
Just
date.
you know,
Yeah.
day and
Yeah.
date. It's yours. It's free. No worries. We just gotta go pay the bills with these other dudes. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. We gotta put it over here. They're gonna give us some money. These smaller companies, they can't afford to miss. We've seen it nonstop on PlayStation side. Everything has flopped. Everything. So it doesn't make sense.
I mean, listen, make no mistake. PlayStation had a lot of exclusives that were locked up through third party this year. The problem with them is they varied in quality, but the issue, and then the real issue at hand here, is the PlayStation community did not come out and support it.
Oh.
A perfect example is Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade was very happy that they sold 1 million copies. I don't know how much it sold, but no one's talking about that game.
They were
That
not.
game
They were not that happy that they sold 1 million copies.
No,
because
I
if they
know,
were,
but
they would have did a big brag post on Twitter saying, "Yo, we sold 1 million copies." The only word we have about Stellar Blade is in the back ends, like, "Oh, this person said it to this that this is what they sold." I have not seen a post from Stellar Blade or from Sony saying, "We sold this much. Check it out. Woohoo!"
I mean, same thing would happen
Haven't.
with Rise of the Ronin. Same thing happened, of
Exactly.
course, with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I mean,
There's
and
like
again,
how many people made Stellar Blade? There's like two. That studio was big studio because there's a Tencent studio, if I'm not mistaken, or
yeah,
like Tencent's involved with them. It's not a small studio. It was a big studio. There's no way that 1 million copies is what they're cool with. It's just not. They're a bigger studio, and that did not sustain. That's why there's no brag post on it.
so I
Meanwhile,
just
you have a
wanted to.
company. You have Flintlock, right? Flintlock that came to Game Pass. It's a small team who made that game, but they were so happy to come out and put on their post 500,000 players or copies sold or whatever it was. Happy as pie because for them that number was good, right? And they bragged about that. These other people, they all brag. Every single one of them would brag if there was something to brag about, right? But they're not because at the end of the day, it's just not enough for the size of these teams. And that team that made Stellar Blade it was going to be a multi-platform game.
Yeah, it was originally.
They were going to be able to put their game everywhere. We know that Sony's not giving out these massive bags. They're just great with contracts, and they take advantage of these people who think that it makes sense to do it because they go and say, well, we have 61 million consoles out there sold or not sold and shipped out there, right? But they won't say shipped. They're like, oh, we have 61 million consoles out there. You should put your game here, right? We'll give you a little money, and because you're exclusive, more people will want to buy. It's a lie. It's a facade. It's fake.
I mean, listen, we're gonna get into it. I mean, we're gonna continue to have this
Super
conversation, but
take us a whole different world.
just for an update, and this was posted 4 hours ago. I did a check on how many copies of Black Myth Wukong sold on PlayStation 5. According to Game World Observer, they have who of course the co-founder Simon Carlis noted on X just today that Black Myth Wukong has estimated have sold to 3 million copies on PlayStation 5, which is again that's impressive. That's an impressive amount.
That for if it's grown to that amount now, because I'm looking over here and they're estimating that Steam has about between 14 and 15 million copies sold at this point.
Yes, Steam is the majority of the sales. Yes.
So
again,
at the time when it was lower, the numbers were much lower, but we'll see what the next update is from them. Hopefully, listen, I to be clear, like that would be great news, right? That would be great news that they finally got there. But just for comparison's sake, Power World had like 15 million sales on Steam, and there was 10 million players on Xbox.
On Xbox, yeah.
Xbox, a tiny platform in comparison, right? That's the way they want to look at it. So, that's not quite impressive that many.
No, I mean, listen, it's 3 million if anything is still a number, but when you compare it, if we're going to go based on just the numbers, if you're saying that they have nearly 15 million copies sold on Steam versus only 3 million copies on PlayStation, when they have 61 million consoles out there, there's definitely room for it. But it is a bit of a niche title. I'm not making excuses for Game Science or the game, but again, 3 million copies. I think a lot of those purchases are because of the hype, because the game looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I will say that they're going to get my money the day it's available on Xbox. I'm just not buying it on PS5, and I don't play on PlayStation. But listen, let me just read out the rest of these super chats, and we're going to get into the big topic of the show. Julia, who's been a channel member for 35 months. Thank you so much for that.
That's awesome, man.
It says, I'm downloading Star Wars Outlaws, and I have Ubisoft Plus. Yeah, I got to figure that out. Listen,
maybe it was just time. Maybe it was like a rollout, and yours just didn't.
Maybe, yeah.
Because even on PC, not on Ubisoft. I was trying on GeForce Now when I did it earlier in the day, and it wasn't there, and then later in the day
it was
popped.
there. Okay, so I'll check after the show.
It's just like a rollout.
Yeah, I'll check out. JJ saying 117 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says retro games like Power Stone are more than Concord. I saw as well as GameStop is announcing retro stores. To be honest, I don't know what to think about.
I think it's genius. That's their market.
Yeah,
they sell. I mean, used games, right? Like that's what they prefer. That's why they hustle you so much.
Well, they're probably gonna. I mean, listen, the digital market is killing them, but not with retro games. If they bring out retro games, people are going to line up to buy them.
We have retro chain stores out here in Connecticut that they're around. They don't close. They're not shut down. So it's smart for them, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Torino Johnson has been a channel member for a long 11 months. And Torino, thank you so much for the support. He says, I just saw a report that the PlayStation 5 Pro is digital only. Have you guys heard of this? Yes. They made it digital only to cut costs, which again, this thing is going to be over $700. So imagine if it had a disk drive. Yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see and again, obviously, supposedly, according to Jeff Grubb, and Jeff is usually right. Like we all get it wrong. But he believes that the Pro is going to be there, and I believe Jeff on it. And of course, that is going to be the state of play, which is whether it's going to happen early September or late September. You're going to get a Pro announcement. The question is, are they going to have any games for it? I don't know. Nightwolf 3186 drops a very generous $5 super chat. Nightwolf goes on to say, Boom, I had the same problem with Outlaws. Okay, here we go. Go to your ready to download section under the full library. And it says got the Ubisoft Plus section and check that. I'm gonna go check it out. Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out after the show. Thank you for the update. Game Positive drops a very generous $5 super chat and says 100% agree. More is said about games skipping versus games finally showing up. Wins need to be celebrated more. Genshin, Final Fantasy equal huge W's, but we get crickets. No, I mean, listen, we celebrate every win that you get. But like I said, that's a story that's a little bit close to my heart because I am a Dreamcast fan, and I'm also a fan of old school fighters. And again, I'm buying them on the Switch. I have an arcade stick and a 6-button controller primed and ready to go for the Switch. But my preferred place to play games is Xbox. And of course, I'll obviously pre-order them on the Switch. And if they were coming out, I would probably get both, like I've done a ton of times before. But you're not wrong, Game Positive. Obviously, we should celebrate the wins. Will Broke Boy Lewis, what's going on, brother? He drops a very generous $10 super chat. And Will goes on to say they won't get play Forza 5 for long. Then car and music licenses is usually 5 or 6 years. And that's interesting. So if it comes out next year to PlayStation, maybe only able to play for about 2 years before it's delisted. That is very interesting. Wow. You know what? I didn't even put that into the equation. You might be onto something here, unless, of course, Sony is willing to pay for the licenses and Microsoft doesn't, right? They just delist the game, and if you own the game, you own the game. But that's an interesting thought and theory, Will. But look, Steam Money had to step away, but of course, we got to talk about Bungie. Now, I'm going to read a report from Destiny Bulletin, and it comes the way of Jason Schreier, who writes for Bloomberg.com. It's an article that he posted. Bring up the article. I don't think I could read it because I'm not subbed to them, but I can at least read the headline. Yeah, this was posted yesterday, August 28th, 2024 at 1:02 p.m. Top director at Bungie was fired after misconduct investigation. And the subtitle is veteran developer who worked on hit video game franchises Halo and Destiny was directing the next major title, Marathon. Now, this is a potential disaster for them. And of course, shout out once again to Destiny Bulletin on X or, well, Twitter. And they have a piece of the article, which of course I'm going to read verbatim. And we're going to get into Marathon because there's an additional quote here that really does set up this game to potentially be in some big trouble. So who are we talking about? Well, Chris Barrett. Now, Chris Barrett is the former game director of Marathon, and he was fired by Bungie following an internal investigation in which at least 8 female employees raised complaints earlier this year that he had behaved inappropriately towards them. He started at Bungie Incorporated in 1999. Barrett rose through the ranks as an artist and then a director of the popular Halo and Destiny franchises and served on Bungie's board before the company was purchased by Sony Group Corp for $3.6 billion in 2022. Until last summer, he was also the director of Marathon, which the studio is hoping will become its next big game franchise. But in late March, he suddenly left the company. Behind the scenes, and again, we're going to just reading directly from the article, folks. Barrett was terminated following an internal investigation in which at least 8 female employees raised complaints earlier this year that he had behaved inappropriately toward them. According to to 8 people, including multiple women who reported Barrett, as well as other Bungie employees who were either involved in the investigation or spoke to the women involved. The people that they spoke to, of course, have asked not to be named, discussing private information. So why is this a problem for PlayStation? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why it's a problem for PlayStation is because they purchased this studio for $3.6 billion. And the purchase, the ideology behind the purchase was that Bungie was going to come in and give them very, very expensive guidance to how they could ramp up production and for games as a service for PlayStation, which notoriously is a single player, story driven, narrative focused, adult themed game maker. Maybe, again, I say this all the time, to be clear, I love those games. I love the movie like quality. I don't like the controller. I like the DualSense, but I hate the battery. I like the stories that they tell, which is why I own a PlayStation 5 and I buy all of their first party games. Now, if they're not for you, I hear you, but they're for me. But one of the things lacking, at least for this entire generation, that's not a multi-plat, has been first party output for multiplayer. And it's a realm that makes a lot of money for places like, well, their direct competitor, Xbox. Interestingly enough, before Jim Ryan was fired, he announced that they had 12 gas games in development from their first party studio, which is just about all of them. Now that was immediately cut in half. And obviously we're not going to go into what was already, canceled. We know about the Twisted Metals, we know about the Spider-Man game, the multiplayer game, we know about The Last of Us, we know all of that. But what was left was Helldivers 2, which, again, maybe it's not for you. The game is really good. And a lot of people bought it on Steam, not so much on PlayStation, which is not surprising because they don't play multiplayer games. They just don't. If it's not Fortnite, if it's not Call of Duty, it's not Apex Legends or PUBG or even Minecraft, they're just not playing. That's a fact. But why this is troubling news, ladies and gentlemen, for PlayStation is a Tom Henderson quote after this story by Jason Schreier. And look, it's a one-sentence line that hits like a ton of bricks. And again, who is Tom Henderson? Tom Henderson, obviously, is the owner of InsiderGamingIG.com. And of course, he is prominent member of the press. Maybe you don't agree with all his stuff, and I don't agree with all his takes, but he's obviously a big-time journalist. This is what he had to say, folks, and it's cringeworthy. He says, Marathon is so cooked. Not just this, but just everything I have heard. And, of course, there is a story which I will include in the show notes, so if you want to click on it, you can. And, look, they're in a pickle, ladies and gentlemen. And C-Money, I'm not sure whether you heard what Tom Henderson had to say. Look, it's and I'll read verbatim. Let me read verbatim and reread exactly what he said. And of course, we're going to react to the director of Marathon being fired for, of course, inappropriate behavior with 8 different females. He was fired. So, of course, I would imagine there's somebody in place now that's going to take over for him. But this is probably why Marathon is in big trouble. But look what, again, this is coming the way of Insider Gaming, and that's Tom Henderson. He says Marathon, okay, hold on a second. Sorry, I pulled up the wrong one. Hold your horses. Let me see. Tom Henderson says, Marathon is so cooked. Not just this, but just everything that I have heard. See, Money, this was supposed to be a game from the savior, Bungie, who was supposed to fly in like a superhero and save their way of making games in a gas game method. And obviously, well, who's going to save the savior? Because now Bungie is now no longer run by Bungie. It's run by PlayStation. And it's run by Herman Holtz, based on what we heard of last month with all the layoffs and all of the inner troubles. Again, the last Destiny 2 update and DLC was reviewed very well. It just didn't sell very well. And on top of that, you have what happened with Concord. And now you don't know what's going to happen with Fair Games. That's Jade Raymond's payday looking type of game. And now Marathon, which was delayed into 2025, it appears seems to be so being run so dysfunctionally that the game may not even make 2025. Let's talk about this because a lot of people are.
I mean, listen, well, first, when it comes to that other stuff, like the fact that this shit is still happening, like in this time. I mean, the fact that it ever happened for sure, but the fact that it's
You're
still
talking about
happening,
the
like
misconduct.
the misconduct,
Yeah,
yeah,
indeed.
like
Yep.
that's wild. Like again, the fact that it ever happened, obviously, is crazy. But we had all that come out with the whole hashtag Me Too movement, where everything was being exposed. Like we saw all this crazy shit that was going on, and it's like after you see that, and you work at one of these companies, like how do you not just like pump the brakes completely and be like, you know what? I dodged the bullet. Nobody came out against me. Let me just stop and not do it anymore. Like, why are these people like people are sick, bro? So the fact that that dude did that and he got fired, good for him. I mean, like, not good for him, like good that it happened to him, getting fired. Um, that's just wild. Where does that leave Marathon? I mean, shit, when before he got fired, it wasn't looking great, right? Like it wasn't looking great. So, I mean, how much of this game was his? Like how much of this game was, his saying or his, vision, right? We don't know. Anytime something like this happens, this is obviously, abrupt. It's not something that you sit there and say, okay, well, let's start getting somebody else ready to go because we're going to do this. It's like, oh shit, that we just found this out. This has to happen now. So, what is going to come from this game? I don't know, man. I mean, listen, in theory, before they showed us what Marathon looked like and what it was, I was actually really intrigued and I was kind of looking forward to the idea of what Marathon was. Marathon was a single player game back in the day. So I thought they were going to do like
And now it's an
go back into that
extraction
world.
shooter. Yeah.
Yeah, fucking extraction shooter. Like what? What? Like what? Look, I don't know. That just seemed. I'm so disinterested in that game. And then we heard reports that people who have played it thought it was garbage, like that it just was not good. So like at this point, we did hear a report right not too long ago that people saying that Marathon was in bad shape and that I forget who it was. Was it Jason Schreier? Jason Schreier. It wasn't a
Yeah.
report. He was
Yeah, he
talking
did.
on that podcast.
He was on a podcast where he said that
Yeah,
it's not in good shape at
not
all.
in good shape, and like that, even like even the date that they delayed it to, which is not an announced date, but is for next year or whatever. Even that date seems unlikely and more likely to shift. And especially you get some news like this is gonna be a whole new wrench in the situation. And I mean, it's just not looking good. And you brought up the idea that Bungie was supposed to be the savior, right? I mean, and the crazy shit is that that's the way Sony positioned them, right? When purchasing them, they said that they bought them for their expertise and their knowledge of the games as a service and all this stuff, and even had the balls to come out here and say in the long run, I think Bungie is actually going to be it's a better buy than ABK. You know what I'm saying? Like they came out here and said some outrageous stuff, and for all of it just to kind of turn out the way it did. I mean, Bungie's no hero. Okay, Bungie's no hero. They're not saving anybody. If anything, they're just a complete and utter waste of money for Bungie. I'm sorry, for Sony. Like it was a waste of money. they spent this money and they're not getting it back. They still might be still making payments on that crap. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not even something that it hasn't bore any fruit, right? The fact
No.
that people are playing Destiny 2 doesn't matter because they're not playing it enough, even though the numbers are good for a company with 800 plus studios after letting go of basically 500 people, right? Like it's not making enough money. And that's
Yeah,
what
you're
I
right.
think, like none of this, like as much as we, you know, when like we don't want to like making money, we use that because the ponies use that shit on us, or so like we use it a lot to kind of show like at the end of the day, no, we don't. We make a lot of money here, so Xbox is fine. Nothing is changing. They all think Xbox is going to disappear. Obviously, it's not, right? Because they make so much money. But when you talk about something like this, the money does matter because when you look at how much that studio brings in, we know that they were down for years, bro, years. And this wasn't some massive success with the final shape. It wasn't some huge, like, oh my God, breaking numbers. Everybody's going crazy for this game. No. And if they were not doing great, even when they had some of those bigger moments in the past, this was not going to help them, right? So they're just not making enough money to sustain. And we saw what PlayStation's doing with them. PlayStation has essentially gutted them. They took the
Yeah.
people that they thought were worth it and brought them inside to Sony, to PlayStation to do things. And then everybody else, they are literally looking at them all like, hey, you guys make Bungie, you're going to keep working on that, but we're not paying you more money. You're not getting more. You're not going to work on these big expansions because they take too long. No. You're just going to put out these little content updates every once in a while, these small updates. And then you guys are making Marathon. And that's it. There's no backup plan for Bungie. They
Yeah.
took the game that they were working on, brought it in-house to PlayStation. They have no trust in Bungie. They have no belief in Bungie. The only reason they're allowing those two games to even exist is because Destiny, even though it's not making a lot or doesn't have crazy amount, it's still making, right? Like people are still playing that game, spending money on the game. But once that dies, once that goes away, all they're going to have is Marathon, right? And from everything we've seen and heard, that's not looking good. So they pretty much put Bungie on their own little island saying, this is you. When those things die, you're dead. You know what I'm saying? Like that's essentially what they did. They took away everything else. There's no other games being made over there. They're not working on anything secret, nothing. Everything else that's being worked on is now in PlayStation, completely removed from Bungie and everything that they have going on over there. So, I mean, it's not just us who don't believe in what Bungie's doing. It's not just us who sees all the nonsense that Bungie has done. Like this just adds insult to injury, right? Like think about Sony looking at this news right now. This guy had to get fired because he did the same thing that Bobby Kotick had to get fired for. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
understand? Like this is like you're putting a negative light on on a company that's already in the negative, right? Everything is negative surrounding Bungie right now. And
Well, here I
this
got
is
that
just
quote for
laid
you.
on
So
top of it.
to add some context to what you were saying. Now, I pulled an article from YahooTech.com. It's actually from GamesRadar.com, written by Dustin Bailey, August 9th. This is going back to the beginning of the month. This is from the Jason Schreier podcast. We played it live on the air. I'm going to read what Jason Schreier had to say when talking about Marathon. Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier said this. Not great. Talking about, of course, the development of this game. From what I heard, Schreier responded, there's a reason why it was planned for this year and then slipped the whole entire year. People that I've talked to are less pessimistic about it even hitting the current planned deadline, but we'll see. I don't know exactly when that is, sometime in 2025. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, the sentiment I have heard is not great around it, at least for the last few months. So you add that to, of course, the news story that comes the way of gaminginsider.com or insidegaming.com, I should say. And well, it sounds like a complete nightmare. But look, at the end of the day, this was supposed to be a big purchase. And if you remember, it's interestingly enough, no one seems to talk about this money, where Jim Ryan actually said that he believed the Bungie purchase was more important than the Activision Blizzard King purchase that Microsoft spent the money on. Pretty funny now when you look at everything. But of course, before we do the outros, before we read any additional super chats, I do want to say, as a former member of the NYPD, when I hear stories like this about the kind of, again, I don't know if it was sexual misconduct. It said it was misconduct from a man to 8 women. So you have to somewhat, again, I don't want to assume, because I don't have the police reports or anything in front of me, but you would have to assume it would be some sort of a sexual misconduct situation, which is why he was fired. 8 women are now traumatized because of one scumbag. Sorry, I don't like to curse, but that's what it is. So ultimately, I know that we're talking about this from a video game aspect, but of course, I love to bring in the human element. And that's something that we need to make sure that before we get out of here, we condemn. Because that kind of behavior is unacceptable. It's unacceptable in 2024. It was unacceptable 10 years ago. 10 years ago, people got away with murder because that's what was accepted by corporations. That doesn't fly in 2024. And again, I don't know, and I'd like again, I don't care for Jason Schreier as a human at all. I'm not going to shy away from that. But as a reporter, I'd like to know, and maybe we'll find out through him or somebody else. Maybe Tom Henderson will do a story on this, whether any of those 8 females were the ones that were laid off. And then you got to wonder, is that retaliatory? Because at that point, that is a lawsuit. And again, I don't know. I'm asking the question. I'm not, rubber stamping it and say, yep, those 8 women were let go. I don't know. I'm asking if somebody's out there who is going to be reporting on this, and this story isn't going to go away. This is just the start of it. Maybe someone could clarify whether or not one or all of those 8 women that did make this complaint are either still with Bungie or did they get laid off? I'd like to know, because again, if they did get laid off, then there may be some retaliatory lawsuits that you're going to hear about as well. But look, C-Money, great show all around. I had a great conversation with you. You actually had unbelievable points of contention throughout the entire show. Folks, normally this is like 70 or 80 minutes. We were a pinch over. Thank you so much for tuning in. We had over 600 people watching live. We have a super chat that came in from Freddie Fox, who drops a very generous $5 super chat. He goes on to say, off topic, a PlayStation gamer at my job just complained to me about Ubisoft Plus. Wow. I did not know Ubisoft Plus is not on PlayStation. That is an L. Now he wants an Xbox. Yeah, they have what's called it is PlayStation Plus, but it's not the same. It's PlayStation Essential. PlayStation Essential. Ubisoft Plus Essential. It's older games. It's not the same as that you would get on our console and of course on PC, where you get the games day and date for. I think it's like just a pinch under $19 after tax per month, which I gladly pay, because of course I'm getting Star Wars Outlaws and then of course in a couple of months I'm getting Assassin's Creed. Well worth the money. Even if you spend it all year,
you get the highest tier.
You get all the DLC, and the highest
standard.
tier is $130.
Yep.
But again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out today's show. Of course, if you are someone that's finding the channel for the first time and you appreciate the conversation that we had today, please consider subscribing. We're on the hunt now for 16K, and obviously it is a big deal. It is a big deal because we are still a small mom and pop kind of organization, but C-Money, let's sell the brand of On Point for Gamers. Of course, that is you and the Mrs. YouTube channel. Obviously, you do a lot of great work with the community each and every week. 4 live shows a week. Obviously, you have another one coming. I believe it's tonight. And of course, tomorrow night, You have one with Hargeet Chani. You and the missus do a great job of pushing back against the industry that seems to just go out of their way to dump on Xbox, and you fight back on it, which again a lot of people enjoy. People appreciate the honesty that you bring forth. And again, you're Xbox gamers, nothing wrong with that. But listen, sell your brand. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel? Check out the 4 weekly live shows that you do, and more importantly, follow you and the missus on social media.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, first of all, Boom, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Love doing the show, man. So, I always look forward to it. So definitely a good time. So thank you so much. You guys can obviously find me here on Thursdays, 12 p.m. Xblog Live. I am on Twitter right here, See Money Forever. You can follow me there for my fun little takes on certain things when it comes to these ponies. That being said, yes, we have a channel called On Point for Gamers. We do reviews, we have different things that we do. We just did the review for Age of Mythology from Xbox. Shout out to them for sending us the code. Definitely go check that out. But we have 4 live shows that we do a week. And I saw on there somebody said your shows are too damn long. Yes, they're long. They're long. They're 4-hour average at this point. But we've gone much longer. It just depends on what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Is we're we don't mince our words. We talk a lot. But no, it's a great time. Sunday morning is our morning quest shows at 10 a.m. Eastern with myself and my wife Doodle. And it's a very chat focused show. It's a big community show. We're talk about whatever we're going to talk about, and the community gets really involved with it. Definitely a fun time. Definitely check it out. 10 a.m. Eastern. We have on Tuesday nights we have Night Quest, which is basically like Morning Quest, except that we typically have a guest that would join us on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then we have tonight's show, which is On Point, the gaming podcast, or the On Point Gaming Podcast. And that's at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. That was the one that started it all for us. That was our original podcast. We just crossed over 100 episodes a few weeks ago, maybe last month. So yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about tonight. There's a lot of crying that's happening out there. We're definitely gonna have some fun. It's a fun night ahead of us. Again, 8 p.m. Easter. Definitely come check us out. And then tomorrow night is the night shift. Let's Talk Gaming. That's myself, Doodle, and of course, Hargeet Shani, the homie, and our boy Demo Flow Gaming. Super dope people. And we have a blast. Friday night. It's been a long week. We just fucking have fun, go in on shit. It's a great time. So definitely come check us out, man. I dropped the link in the chat. So come join us, man. We have a fun time, man. It's Xbox though. So if you're one of the ponies who might be in here, I mean, you can come watch, but you stay quiet or you talk normal. You know what I'm saying? There's not going to be any slander coming from you guys in the chat. Sorry, guys. That's just not how we roll.
Well, listen, not to be Asian Smith, who actually talked about mustard earlier, not to be outdone. Your boy
Slander.
Ryu Art Gaming says $500 for another mustard food eating for C Money.
No, that was torture. There's no amount of money. No, I would never.
Oh my
I still
goodness.
have that. I keep it here to remind me. I would never see this. Look at how I couldn't even finish, bro. I was dying. But look how small those stupid.
You
things
ate all
are.
those olives,
I
bro?
ate
Like
all this crap. on
Mrs.
Steam, and I
Boom's
was dying.
got those in the kitchen in the cupboard, brother. Arroz con pollo, you put those in there, brother. Yeah, and a
I
lot.
was dying. No, I was dying. Literally, I had to stop. I was like, bro, I cannot do it anymore. This is death to me. That's disgusting. That and mustard, and I had to dip it in mustard, bro. Like, it's the worst.
That sounds like agita waiting to happen, brother.
That was
I
horrible,
don't know,
bro. It's horrible.
I love mustard. I like honey mustard, to be honest with you. I like honey, but I like.
Well, honey mustard depends on how. See, honey mustard is a scale, right? There's honey and mustard, right? Now, some of those honey mustards are way more leaning towards the mustard side of things, and that's disgusting. But when they lean all the way, like all the way to the honey side, and there's like very little mustard involved in the taste, then that's not a problem.
That
You know what I'm
is
saying? That's not a problem.
hilarious. And
Olives are
Jagger
disgusting. You're all lying. I
0718,
see you,
Jagger,
Jagger.
welcome.
You're
He says
lying.
olives are good. There, see money. You
Nope,
know,
it's a lie.
it's a lie.
People try to
It's a
gaslight me
lie.
into
I
thinking
love
it's good. It's not. I ate them. They're torture. That's disgusting. Don't do it.
Well, listen, appreciate your brother being here. Again, a big thank you to all of the chat that showed up. A big thank you to all of the super chats and the channel memberships that continue to come in. Mrs. Boom and I are always going to say thank you. We're incredibly grateful for the support. And of course, hey, that's Hargeet. He says, I finished my jar of olive sea money.
Damn it, Hargeet.
I don't believe it. And E-Ranks, hashtag mustard gang. Now, you know what? You're not wrong there, E-Ranks.
No.
You're not wrong.
No. These are all bad things, guys. If you're out there saying to yourself, is mustard actually good? Don't believe these people.
Oh, man.
Okay?
You know who
They're
came to your
gaslighting you.
defense live on the air? Joe Dunmore says, I'm a mustard
Joe
hater
Dunmore.
too.
My dude.
There you go, Joe.
You see that?
Welcome.
That's what I like to see.
But
See?
again, folks, thank you so much for supporting not only myself here on my channels. Thank you for supporting C Money, Doodle, and of course,
Appreciate y'all.
On Point for Gamers. Again, we appreciate it. It's without an audience, we don't have a channel, and that's the fact. So without you here watching our shows, we wouldn't have anybody to talk to. So once again, for me, myself, thank you, as well as C Money. We're going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Okay, hold on. Let me get into it. The last super chat of the day comes the way of THX1138. Well, thank you so much for being here, brother, and thank you for the $2 super chat. It says, great seeing your success, Boom. New Rock, India, in the house. Yes. Oh, that means that you might be living in New Rochelle, brother. We gotta maybe have a coffee or something. But thank you so much for the super chat, and of course, thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, C Money show tonight, as well as don't forget tomorrow morning. Breakfast at Boom, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, I'm working on that. I'm writing that show right now as we speak. Big news coming the way of Jez Corden regarding Final Fantasy 14 and Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Final Fantasy 16 and 7.
I said 14, 16. Yeah, thank you so much. 16 and Final Fantasy 7 remake could be announced at the Tokyo Game Show. Interesting.
20 tears would be so sweet.
It would. Well, it's going to be fun, but enjoy the rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we'll see you on the next episode of X Vlog Live.